What's up? This is Rob from Escape to Fate, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 178 of Richard Middle Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Rob Ortiz from Escape the Fate. How are you doing today, man? Great to be able to talk with you today.
Well, my life is being turned upside down. So I'm all right. I'm optimistic. I'm making progress, but there's a lot of shit I need to get done, and I got a few days before we hit the road. So kind of freaking out. I don't know what to prioritize.
It's all good. I have like 25 minutes left of my work break, so we're that's both of us. We got shit to do.
Yeah, but we could talk about a new record and a new tour.
Yeah, which we'll to do, but kind of like the format is, I want to do like a speed run of your catalog as well as talk about the new album. But I'm always curious, like growing up, what inspired you to like play drums?
It was a couple things. So I always wanted to be Slash, and then I saw the one video from Metallica, and there's a shot behind the drums, and you could see Lars's feet doing the double bass part.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the fucking sickest thing ever. And then one day, my dad, because we have this friend who plays drums, and he had this gnarly thrash metal band. So this was back in the '90s, and they needed a place to practice. And my dad was like, I got a garage. You can come over to my place. And then I just watched him, and partially because he was our friend, and, partially because I just was drawn to the physicality of the drums and watching him hit hard and sweat. Obviously, I was going to pay attention more to him than the guitar players, who were amazing too. But it just blew me away. And the next day, I'm in the garage and I'm just playing those drums. And my dad's like, all right, I'm going to get him some drums. And he got me some sticks. And then I started playing on his paint buckets. And then Christmas came and he got me a drum kit. And that's just what I've been doing for the rest of my life, basically.
Awesome. And of course, next year is going to be a very special year because it'll also mark 20 years of Escape the Fate as a band. So do you
Oh,
think that you
fuck.
guys would be around for almost 20 years?
I didn't think I'd be around for like 20 years being alive, let alone 20 years playing in a fucking band. Yeah, look, it's actually crazy at this point of life because there's certain bands that they have their own niche, and every generation gets a new like shot at listening to them and understanding what they do. Obviously, you have your legendary acts that are timeless and they transcend all everything, right? But there's always bands that kind of, it's sort of a word of mouth thing and you pass it down to the next generation. It's very interesting to see when we play shows. You have the fans that grew up with us and now our parents bringing their kids to shows, and their kids are like, yeah, I mean, I'm growing up listening to you, and it's freaking weird. But I didn't think we would last this long, to be honest, especially after so many different changes and so many different things. But we somehow just, the way I look at it, man, if you're able to make a dollar playing music, what other better way to do it than do that? And then I just love it, and I fall out of love with it, and I hate it, and I resent what my career's done to my life, and then I'm back at it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, music's fun, and I like making songs, and I like playing shows, and then there you go, another 2 years goes by, and I'm still doing it.
Awesome. And tell me about Dying is Your Latest Fashion, which in my opinion is one of the best debut albums of our generation. Like songs like Situation and Not Good Enough for the Cliche. I think it's a great debut album. So what was the thought process making the debut Escape the Fate album?
Well, let's see. Now you're talking about going way back in time, right? So that was a whole different world than where we're at now. But I mean, back then I was in high school, dude. I was literally practicing after school, and you know, it was very exciting because everything was so new and everything was like you got like just I don't know, like they were so creative. There was like no right or wrong way to do anything. We would just play music. We didn't think about we need a hit or we need to bring some co-writer in or we need this producer, we need this. We just would jam at my house after school. That's what we did. And then you just like it was just kind of this combination of all these weird influences. I was the metalhead kid and I liked the thrash metal and the classic rock bands and things like that. And then you had the other guys who were more modern and new metal and industrial. What was at that time was pretty modern. And then you had guys who were like cutting edge, looking forward to what's going to happen next, the underground bands that are just starting out. And you put it all together and it just created this unique sound. And it's weird. And it goes to the same way as the band. I didn't think it would be as influential. I think it's much more influential than it is, statistically big itself. Not to say that it's like a small record, but it's like it's influence. Like a lot of bands listen to that have gone bigger than that record, but they were influenced by the record. And I don't know, it's just really cool. And Ronnie was always wore his heart on his sleeve even back then. And so his songs were always just very reflection of his life.
Especially like situations. Like I remember like the video with y'all in the school and stuff. I feel like y'all had like a blast making that video.
Oh yeah, too much fun to be honest. It
Yeah.
was like the director said it best. He's like, I get to go make Hot for Teacher today. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. So it was like it was obviously an homage to Van Halen and that whole era. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to be real bombastic and just like over the top with everything. And so it was cool, man. And that was just where we were at the time.
Yeah. And then going into This World Is Ours, which hard to believe this year is the 15-year anniversary of that album, and also the first album with Craig Mabbitt. So did you feel like nervous like changing singers? Because anytime when a band changes singers, there's always the thing of what work or won't it work. Like I remember with, for example, Iron Maiden, when they got Bruce Dickinson, when they put out Number the Beast, it became a hit. So did you feel like nervous at all going from Dying as Early as Fashion to This World Is Ours, especially with the change of the vocalist?
Well, kind of goes back to the same sort of feeling as the first album where you really don't know what you're doing when you're that young. I mean, we're at that point, we're going to our second album. I'm still like 19 years old, like was still very young. And so it was crazy to like, you just roll with the punches. Like I was sleeping at either my girlfriend's house or my cousin's house or my friends, roommates, and would go out in a van and tour or go out in a fucking RV or whatever. Like you just go with it. You're like, there's nothing to lose. Now I'm a grown ass man with kids and all this stuff. So there's responsibility. So there was no like, are we done? It was just kind of like a happy accident that Craig should join the band, and he quit Bless the Fall, and then he still wanted to play music, and he accidentally called our manager, and then it was like, well, they're looking for a singer too. And so we flew out, and it was just like, it wasn't instant. It wasn't a lot of crazy chemistry. And Craig is like the same as the rest of the band. He has his moments of intense creativity, and he had his moments of like kind of just sort of stuck and trying to feel what it is you're doing. So in that way, it was much more what do you call it, collaborative, because we were able to, like, he allowed me to have a voice too, and allowed me to be creative, and allowed the other guys to be much more creative, and then he would bring in his creativity. So it was a huge change. His style was different. He wasn't in the same melodic pop punk influences that we had originally. So you didn't have those sharp melodies and lullaby melodies or whatever the hell you want to call them, pretty stuff. It was very hardcore and screaming, a lot of screaming, and influenced by Linkin Park and stuff too for the vocals or the actual melodies. So it was different, but it quickly like became just like a work ethic thing. Like, this guy fucking wants to do it. He wants to make it. What are the chances that another whole singer could just fall in my lap? It's like, it doesn't make sense. But, like 15, 16 years after that, we're still doing it.
Yeah, and great. The last time I saw you guys actually played that album in full, so that was a treat. Like it took me back to like being like 14 years old when that album came out.
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird, man. It was weird. Made me
Yeah.
feel old for sure.
Yeah, but then going into the self-titled album, because usually a self-titled is like the band's first, but when it's like in the middle, I always feel like it's like a new change or a new start. Was that the reason for it being self-titled?
It was just kind of at that point we felt like we were cemented, because with the first thing it like dissolved, and then three of us kept going, and then Craig came in, and it was like it was still sort of a new thing, and it was almost just we were out to prove that we could still be a band. And then so by the time we got to that third record, I was like, no, this is the band, this is who we are. I didn't know that'd be the last iteration of that band, but at the time it made sense. So and looking back now, that record probably stands apart the most sonically, It's a very sort of dark sound, some sort of industrial type feel to it, as opposed to just having electronics there. It was just like it was a feeling that, but I don't know. I liked it. We had a lot of fun playing that again for also another anniversary thing. And I don't
Yeah.
know. It was cool. And that was another branch for us as individuals to explore our creativity.
Yeah, and then the next two albums, Ungrateful, which I believe this year is the 10-year anniversary of that, and Hate Me. I feel like those two
Gosh.
albums are kind of like brother and sister in a way. So tell me about like those albums.
Well, Ungrateful, that one it was made in so much chaos and turmoil. The next three would be, but that one was like, because the self-title we still had Monty Money at the time. He was very, very creative driving force. And then going into Ungrateful, it was like we were off the label. We were sort of trying to find a label. We started to want to do things ourselves, but we still wanted to go back to John Feldman to try to, you know, we missed certain elements of what he brought to the table. So it was a changing time so you hear it in the songs, like you'll hear Ungrateful where it's like brutal, almost thrashy kind of thing. And then you go into like some more of the synth bass kind of dancey songs, and we're just all over the place. And in hindsight, I like it more than at the time, but it was frustrating to make. We were going to New Jersey to record the record, going to California, doing shit in Vegas. We are just like
Yeah.
all over the place. Yeah. And it was really weird, but we definitely had a lot more hard rock influence. Like we were more like just really influenced by the bands that we were touring with at the time, which is like Papa Roach and Five Finger Death Punch and Avenged Sevenfold. And so we were thinking more of I don't want to say mainstream rock, but yeah, kind of like that. So it became much more straight ahead hard rock versus kind of that emo influence. Then you get into Hate Me, and it was again like now we have a new guitar player, this whole new guy that's a different vibe, and we go to Howard Benson, and you look at them that way, maybe because they're a little confused on what they wanted to be. But to me, those are like turning points in the career, like
Yeah.
complete. Like here this is the old and this is the whole other world of we're going. And yeah, Hate Me was challenging. It was very confusing to make, and we were again on a new label or all that stuff, and trying to find ourselves. And some of those moments were really cool. Some of them were like frustrating, and it was awesome to be with Howard Benson, who just let us write. Like John Feldman, the producer of This War Is Ours and the last two records and part of Ungrateful, very hands-on. He gets in with you, he'll pick up a guitar, he'll write vocals, and he'll bounce ideas back and forth, and that's what he likes to do. with
Yeah.
with Hate Me, it was like Howard Benson's just like, go right, and just keep bringing back stuff when it's good. I'll let you know, or he'll like alter things to say maybe you need something like this, and then he'll just let us work. And I don't know, there was no direction. Again, we never really have a direction until this most recent record.
Right.
Other than that, it was just like it was cool. It was cool. I can't believe we made it.
Yeah, and then I Am Human. I like that album, believe it or not. No, especially hearing like the song Broken Heart, which a lot of people say it sounds so much like Help by Papa Roach. Like, did they ever come to you saying like, "Hey, listen to our song Help," and then listen to Broken Heart? I remember some people even did like mashups of that. So how do you feel about that?
It was apparent to us that they definitely sound similar. There's like a similar thing in the melody, but the thing was that song was recorded and done before they had released Help. Even though we're great friends with them, I mean, we've never heard any demos or pre-release things, right? So literally the album's done. It's gonna be released soon, and then they release that song. So whatever subconscious thing. I mean, we toured a lot with them, so we were probably influenced by the same things at the same time, and somehow a similar song came out of it. But it's just that's just sort of it just happens sometimes, man. But there was no direct influence from them at all on it. So this is what it is, and I love that song, and I like our song as well. I'm our
Yeah.
harsh critic, but I do like that song.
Yeah, and then your last album, Chemical Warfare, one of my favorite albums from 2021. One, I feel like that was almost like a slow step in the direction to the new album. So, what was that like? The last album?
Again, fucking chaotic. That one was, it was sort of bittersweet because that time we chose to really go back with John Feldman and make a whole record with him. And um, it was different because we were a little confused on where we wanted to go. So we were open-minded and we worked with a lot of other people. Thrasher was a lot more hands-on with that. And there was some things that were like really cool. And it's always the same thing. It's always like, generally speaking, rock music. And you try things and it works and it doesn't work. What was missing from that record for me was it just didn't feel like we had our personal selves really into it too much. And I'm very, very particular about, like, even if it comes out shitty, I need to express something, or Craig needs to express something, or whoever's in the band. When you have something that's on your chest and you just need to get it off, then that's when the good shit happens to me. And I feel connected to it. It may not be the catchiest thing, it may not be the sickest, whatever, but I'm more empathetic to what you're trying to do and I appreciate it more. So that was much more of a team collaborative effort between John and some writers. And, there was a dream that happened with it because I wanted Lindsay Sterling to be a part of it.
Yeah,
And
he's amazing.
I'd wanted her on the last song. So you talk about I Am Human. I wrote this song when my grandfather passed away called If Only. And I was reflecting on all the things that I probably should have done while he was alive and spent more time with him and not taking things for granted. And I had this dream of having her on it. Now, I liked one song from her. I liked how she played. I wasn't like a big fan. Like, I wasn't listening to her like every day, but I was like, that's what this fucking song needs. And we reached out to her. The schedules didn't work out. But then you come back a whole fucking another album a couple years later, and she's like, yeah, I'll do it. And so that's like, it's a dream in and of itself to be able to have someone collaborate with you and you have a vision and you achieve it. And it was really cool. And making the video for that through COVID and all that stuff was fucking awesome. It's hard to believe now that COVID was like a thing, right? And we had to get tested. And I don't know if I'm going to be in the video. I feel a little sick. Maybe I have COVID. And like, it was fucking weird, but we just kind of came together and did it. And, it was okay. It was a time for us to just make sure that we were still going to be a fucking band.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, and then we have the new album Out of the Shadows coming out September 1st. So, what was that whole writing and recording process like?
This has been my favorite one since the first album, to be honest. And it was a shit show, like they all are, because it was recorded in chunks and pieces. And the first half of it was, we're going to go in like chemical warfare. We're going to sit in John Feldman's studio and we're going to throw ideas back and forth. No one brings anything to the table. We're just starting new. And then that went the way it did. And then Thrasher leaves the band, our
Yeah,
old guitar player. So now
because he does like production stuff.
yeah. So he really fell in love with that. He wanted to pursue that more. The band was, we were struggling through COVID, and usually the live show keeps us together. And when he had more time to explore that, that's what he did. And he had great opportunity working with amazing, humongous artists. So, blessings for him. And like, I hope he continues to do well with that. And he has a family and all that stuff. So that's cool. But, once he was out, we decided, all right, well, let's get together and let's be a fucking band. And at that time, Eric, our bass player, he was only playing with us on the road. He wasn't part of the band, but he would play live. He
Yeah,
came to us and
he's
said,
amazing.
yeah, he is. And he came to us and said, I want to be in the band because, I don't want to spend so much energy just either being part of like working for someone. Like, I'm going to pursue this production thing, make my own band, or I love this band. I want to be part of it. And so Craig and I were like, well, fuck it, let's have him be in the band. And, it was probably the best thing because after that, we went to his house and his studio and we just started writing and it was so fucking sick. It was just like, there was no bad ideas. And if there was, it'd be like, all right, on to the next thing. And there was no like, it was weird. It's like you could be honest with each other and you could say, I'm not feeling that. And no one got offended. And I'm very bad about that. If I present something and they don't like it, I'm like, fuck you. Here's what's wrong with you, not the music, right? Because
Yeah.
again, like I only write when there's something just like on like in my head or something that I just need to get out, but I struggle to find the melodies sometimes, and I need them to help me get there, but I can't get them to get there when I can't do it myself. So, once it was actually like they're on board, we're feeling it. They're seeing what I think is not cool about what they're doing and what I do think is cool about what they're doing. And once we kind of got on the same page, it was like, holy shit, we're making like a metal rock opera right now, a emo metal opera. I can't believe this is fucking happening. And it was amazing. And we got more ambitious. And it's like, let's go full circus shit over the top. Let's make a 6-minute fucking metal symphony piano shit. And then it's like, well, let's just play a sick breakdown song. And it was just like, it felt like being in a band again for the first time in so fucking long. The only thing that really pisses me off about it now is that it's done, it's going to be released. And I feel like we're just getting started. I feel like this is the beginning. And I feel like the next record is really what we're going for. But we still did a lot of great things. And we still have the John Feldman stuff we did, which is a lot catchier, and there's a lot, but all of our lyrics mean something to us now, and it's really fucking awesome. So I'm excited about it, and I hope people get it. But if they don't, it's just like, cool, we needed to do something, we needed a kind of release, and we're just gonna keep going.
Yeah, and you also have like a new guitarist, Matty Hoffman. Like, did he bring in some like new elements to Escape the Fate that y'all didn't have previously?
What he took away from us was limitation, because if we go, we need a sick fucking solo here, it was just like, okay, dude, like, what the fuck? Anytime that guy touches a guitar, it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you're fucking incredible. And he's still new. So our relationship as far as his role in the band is still being defined and still being a little figured out. And I'm defensive. And then he gets upset where it's like, well, do I have a say or not? And I'm just like, oh yeah, we're still working out because we just got Eric. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, no, but Maddie's opinion matters, and Maddie's fucking a damn virtuoso genius. These guys they don't exist. It's like him and like a handful of guys that can do what he can do. That's why I say the next record is going to be even crazier, because there's not going to be any limitations. What limited us now is time. So I don't know, he brought a lot of shit. He made a lot of him and Eric made the stuff that we did before with Thrasher and John Feldman, which were this sort of weird alt pop thing that was really cool and very catchy, to like a dark edge. And it brings this sort of dark feel to it, and brings that sort of Beethoven element that Maddie brings. And Eric brings the riffs and the rhythm. And it's just turned those songs from me thinking they're catchy to, holy shit, those are sick as fuck. I thought that song was gonna be so fucking lame. Listen to how stupid that sounds. Now you have this riff that sounds fucking amazing. So it's definitely turned into a band. We're cohesive. We're on the same page, and that is something that's very hard to do. That's why bands break up, because you can't get on the same page. But we are.
Yeah.
It only took
Yeah.
20 years.
Hell yeah. So before we go, Robert, just want to thank you for this interview. Great to be able to talk with you. It's just anything else you'd like to talk or promote in turn for the release of Out of the Shadows. I know you got that awesome tour coming up. Is just anything else you'd like to plug?
No, look, man, I appreciate you giving that opportunity, man, because it's so different now. Everyone has their own fucking herd of people that just like you connect with, and I'm glad that you could allow me to let your friends in on it. And yeah, we're doing the tour. It's running from August 31st in Salt Lake, all over the US, up until October, where we end in Aftershock Festival, and that's gonna be fucking crazy. So yeah, the Out of the Shadows, it's, I don't know, check it out, dude. We're always so eclectic, so there's something there for somebody no matter what. But you might not like all the songs, but you're gonna like a bunch of them for sure. That'll be like, oh man, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. So everybody, Rob from Escape the Fate. See you next time.